Welcome back. For this unit, we will be looking at a number of things relating to setting and characterization, and things we can discover about texts by looking at them. Today, we'll talk mainly about setting first. On this slide, you will see one of the definitions of setting. The setting is the background against which the story takes place. Okay, well, what do we mean by the background? That can actually mean quite a few things. The setting can be about location, and the location can be a geographical location, a particular country, or the city as opposed to the countryside, inside a building as opposed to outside a building, a very simple house versus a palace. The possibilities obviously are endless. Another thing that refers to setting is the historical moment. For example, I'm sure you've all read or heard about the novel The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. This novel is set in Nazi Germany, has a lot of relevance for the theme of the novel. But you could also have a novel set in the Middle Ages, like some romances about knights in shining armor. The French Revolution, like, for example, The Scarlet Pimpernel. Again, the possibilities are endless. Another thing that relates to setting is the time of the year, or the season, or the time of day at which something is set. A setting in spring brings with it hope and youth and birth, whereas fall and winter might refer to quite different feelings, the ending of life perhaps, or sleep. The setting could also center on a particular day of the year, let's say Christmas, which brings with it all kinds of extra meanings. The same goes for the time of day. Let's say something takes place in the morning. That means everything is still possible. On the other hand, it could also take place at sunset, which brings with it the idea of endings. Another thing that refers to setting is the period of time covered by a text. There is, for example, a story by Kate Chopin called The Story of an Hour, and it literally is about 1 hour in that person's story which changes everything. Another book, famous book, Mrs. Dalloway, by Virginia Woolf, is a story which is about literally 1 day in the life of Mrs. Dalloway. 1 day in the life of this 52-year-old. However, through her thoughts and thought processes, we actually see all of her life passing by. Finally, another example, Tolstoy's War and Peace is actually about generation upon generation of people in Tsarist Russia. Another part of the setting can be the weather. If something takes place in a storm, which sometimes happens, for example, in the story by Kate Chopin called The Storm, that might have a meaning. In Kate Chopin's story, it certainly does. It takes place during a storm, but it is also about a kind of storm. It's about an extramarital affair. It could also take place in a heat wave. We can think of Tennessee Williams' Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. This takes place during a very, very hot summer in the American South, and the heat in the story actually parallels what goes on in the story and the sexual tensions and the fights between the different characters in that play. All of these help underline the possible meanings of a story. On this picture here, we see the catacombs of Paris. You can imagine what kind of an effect it would have to have this setting. The catacombs of Paris is a place where the remains of 6 million people are kept. And you can imagine that having a story take place in such a setting could evoke thoughts about all kinds of themes like Seize the Day or Memento Mori. Or it might help determine the atmosphere. It's a gloomy and creepy place to be. It's very dark down there. I have a few slides to show you what kinds of things settings can be and how they can work. Here, for example, one possible setting could be this very gloomy castle. Dark, spooky, scary, gray skies. That is a particular setting that an author can choose. But an author could also choose to have something take place in such an innocent and spring-like place. Here also we have two settings. Both are buildings, but they are so vastly different that the atmosphere evoked by the two different buildings could help contribute to the meaning of a story. Here, two different settings again. A historical ship, adventure, and a jail cell, where all the adventures end. Something could take place in a very busy, modern-day Asian city, or in this place, which is actually a picture from about 100 years ago, taken in a slum in Amsterdam. Choosing a particular setting can help the author bring home certain messages. They help create the atmosphere and help underline the theme of a story. You will see that looking at the details of the setting carefully will help you unravel the secrets of the text. I'll see you next time.